Trustees of the California State University please come to order. Ms. Kiss, if you would please call the roll.
Sure thing. Trustee Abrego. Trustee Brewer. Here. Governor Brown. Trustee Carney. Trustee Day. Trustee Eisen. Trustee Fagan. Trustee Farrar. Trustee Furstenberg. Trustee Fortune. Trustee Garcia. Trustee Campbell. Trustee Melendez de Santa Ana. Trustee Monville. Trustee Morales. Lieutenant Governor Newsom. Trustee Norton. Speaker Rundon. Trustee Simon. Trustee Stepanek. Trustee Taylor. Superintendent Torlakson. Trustee White. Chancellor White. All right.
Also
now
note
we
that-
have a quorum.
Also note that Trustee Fortune joined us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is the time in which the board hears from public speakers. We will proceed with a maximum 30-minute period for public comments. Speakers will have 3 minutes for their remarks. When a speaker's time ends, I would ask that you yield the microphone so that the next speaker may address the board and that everybody has time to be heard. Ms. Kiss, if you'd please call the speakers.
We'll start with Sandip Roy, Lautaro Gallegos, and Pat Gant. So one more time, Sandip Roy, Lautaro Gallegos, Pat Gant.
That should be working. Good morning. I'm Sandip Roy. I'm a student at Fresno State. I'm a graduate student, and I'm the president of UAW Local 4123. We represent all the Unit 11 employees. Now, we recently heard that the tuition fees are going to be raised, or they might go up again. Now, as the federal grants dwindle away, that means that students will further slide into debt. I saw recent statistics that says that 71% of college students graduate with a significant amount of debt that they keep on paying most of their lives. Now, I know that Dr. Castro, our president at Fresno State, has often mentioned the role that CSU plays in pulling people out of poverty. Indeed, I was inspired by President Castro's own story as a first-time college goer and his successes. But as the tuition fees go up and the cost of tuition and cost of college increases, first-generation college goers are only discouraged from going to college. And as for graduate students like us, it pushes us further into poverty. So, as Governor Brown in the past has promised more funding, if the CSU does not increase tuition, I would urge personally and for all graduate students and for all students in general, for the CSU and for Governor Brown to do the right thing and not increase tuition, pushing us further into poverty. Now, our faculty are also going on strike for a living wage. As a student and as a student employee, we support them in their fight for five. And as a concerned student, I would advise all students to follow their conscience and support their faculty. As for our 9,000 members who work as TS, GS, and ISS on all CSU campuses, we will fulfill our duties. We will take our classes, grade our papers, but we cannot be burdened with extra work. We cannot be burdened with work that the faculty do in the event of a strike. I thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Lautaro Gallegos, and I am the Financial Secretary of UAW 4123, the union that represents all the student employees at California State University. First of all, I want to thank you for having us here today. So we are here today to support the effort of CFA for a pay increase. As a union, we are also approaching to a new contract negotiation that we hope will provide us with a better pay. We as student employees face not only the constant increase of cost of living, but also the increase of tuition. which increases our debt exponentially. That's why we want to ask the university to keep the tuition freeze so we don't get further in debt. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Pat Gant, President, California State University Employees Union, representing 15,000 staff of the CSU. I want to talk a little bit more and follow up on what Trustee Brewer's comments were in the governmental affairs. While we're hopeful that the budget process yields more support than what was the governor's January budget, we also must be aware that there's also other legislative bills that may put restraints on the system but not create the funding to fill the demand. Some unfunded mandates in the past have hamstrung the system at every level where we could not meet those needs and resources were drained from other parts of campus to meet those demands, whether it was energy efficiency, graduation rates, enrollment rates, and that we have to be very cautious in the process. I think the CSU and everybody working together, we've done better with our graduation rates, transfer rates, and acceptance rates continuously, but it requires funding from the state to help us do the job we're meant to be. The problem is that if we do not get the resources to do the job or face the mandates given to us by the governor or the legislature, the quality of the instruction and the product we deliver will diminish. We do not want to become a diploma mill like the for-profit institutions that seem to become popular and riding the wave of higher education at the expense of the students, which drive them more in debt. Our mission is to provide access to higher education for California high school graduates and to deliver to the workforce skilled taxpayers, voters, and employees. We need to work together to do that, but we need the resources from Sacramento. Thank you.
Mike Chavez, Neil Jacqueline, Tessie Reese.
Hello, my name is Mike Chavez. I'm the chair of the Unit 5, representing the custodians, grounds workers, warehouse workers. But I'm here to tell you guys create issues for our campuses. What I mean by issues is we bring up issues concerning outsourcing of our jobs, understaffing of our positions, just bullying, harassment. We bring all these issues to you guys' attention, and still there's, you guys have the opportunity to change those issues, right? We bring them to your attention, and it seems like it falls on deaf ears. Now, we can go through each and every one of them. Understaffing. We had positions on our campus, one grounds worker and one custodian died of a heart attack on the position, on the job. We had another grounds worker within a week, had almost a near fatal heart attack. That was due to understaffing issues. When I talk about outsourcing of our jobs, we had campuses that have done wonderful by creating positions and bringing those jobs in-house. Where on the other hand, we have positions within campuses that have been here for over 20 years that we still have no grounds workers or no custodians to this day. And we have other positions on the campuses where they're slow to bring back those positions even though agreements are in place. For bullying and harassment, we bring up these issues to the individual campus presidents or to their administration. And to this day, in this day and age, it's still a problem. Of this great institution, we should not be having this kind of a discussion, and it's still happening to this day. Please, when bring these issues to your attention, take issue. You as Board of Trustees and campus presidents and your administration, you guys have the ability to change those situations. all we left is what the repercussions by your actions, or in a lot of the cases, lack of inaction on taking issues with that. Please take, you have the opportunity to affect change. And we're asking for you to do that. Ask the hard questions. Why don't we have campus-wide, system-wide policies? Here we're asking for the legislature for more money, and yet we bring every issue we have when it comes to meet and confers. Why do we have 23 different policies? We have campuses to this day right now that are waiting to hear what other campuses are doing because they don't want to make the change. There should be one single system-wide policy. That's it. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Neil Jacklin. I'm the VP of Organizing for CSU-EU. I find myself standing here today asking myself, what can I say to you to help you see a problematic issue facing my members? But more so, what can I say to you to convince you to take some action? There are many contractual issues affecting the livelihood of CSU-EU brothers and sisters. Some are small and others are large. But the biggest and the most egregious is the in-range progression process. We have filed many grievances and unfair labor practices against the CSU for violations to the contract. And we have prevailed in many of them and have showed the inconsistencies and the lack of one standard set of guidelines and the unfairness of the process. But even knowing all of this and considering the tremendous waste of man hours and millions of dollars, you still continue to promote this process and saying it is working. I must say I find it difficult to understand the logic behind the decisions to keep promoting this proven and inadequate process. I think it is important to repeat this again and again so it is not forgotten, because the future strength of the CSU depends on a healthy and productive workforce that is honestly compensated. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Tessie Reese. I'm Unit 2 Chair and I hail at San Diego State. Today I'd like to just bring up the idea of Unit 2 being the smallest unit, about 500 employees. And about 5 or 6 years ago, we started a conversation with the CSU about the market equity issues from 25 to 30% for many of our classifications in Unit 2. And then it just got put aside because either the Chancellor's Office did not have the people in classification, there was a turnaround. And so now that I understand that we've got people on board, I'd like to bring up the fact that Unit 2 is asking again so that we can start having the dialogue for the necessary discussions regarding market equity and the classifications in Unit 2 that are lagging so severely. It's very difficult to recruit for nurse practitioners, pharmacists, and physicians and assistants in particular when people leave. We have positions that don't get filled for years. I used to have 12 nurse practitioners and we're down to 5. And basically, as they retire, they're not filling those positions, partly because they can't fill them with the salaries that they want to bring folks in on. So I think this is a necessary time now to start having this discussion. And so over the next several months, we'll be asking again to start having those discussions with you. Thank you.
Loretta Seva Atasi, Rocky Sanchez, and Rich McGee.
Loretta Savatasi, CSUEU Statewide Officer, Administrative Analyst Specialist, Graduate College of Education at San Francisco State University. Let's go back to the very beginning. The California Master Plan was to provide a public higher education system to educate the citizens of California. And for a long time, community college was tuition free. CSU tuition was minimal and UC costs a little more. Now, tuition is so much higher with more students, but not enough faculty or staff to support due to layoffs, furloughs, contracting out, increase in hourly intermittents, retired annuitants, casual workers, and more confidential employees. Every year we have to sit on this side of the room and listen to CSU budget presentations that always call for more funding than what the governor allocates for the CSU. The disappointing part is that this is the only time we are mentioned by you on that side of the room because you want us to be a united front at the Capitol when we meet with legislators to secure more funding for the CSU. But once we get it, we are but a memory to you. Secondly, I keep hearing you say that the legislature is going to someday stop funding the CSU. Excuse me, this is a California public institution of higher education, and therefore the state should continue to fund it. We all worked hard to get Prop 30 passed, which the tax portion is expiring soon, with 2 new versions of extending the income tax portion of it in the legislature. During the last board meeting, an oil severance tax was brought up. So my question is, why are we asking for more money every year and not trying to get legislation on the ballot to fund the greatest economic engine in all of California? Do you really think public-private partnerships are the way to go? Not if this is a public institution of higher education. President John F. Kennedy once said, "My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." I don't know about you, but as a staff person, I know that CSUEU, APC, SETC, SUPA, Unit 1, we are all the face of the CSU. From safety to health to academic departments, registration, academic advising, career counseling, outreach, financial aid, IT support, clean classrooms, facilities, grounds, painting, electrical, carpentry, plumbing, door locks. We know what our contributions are to the CSU. We serve the students of this great state. Out-of-state students, international students, old, young, professional, returning students. The faculty Unit 3, who are about to go out on strike, teach, advise, and mentor our many students who then go out and contribute to the 8th largest economy in the world. So my question is, what are you doing for the CSU so that we are not always year in, year out begging for more funding while K through 14 has Prop 98? What have you secured for the CSU? When are we going to come and get some good news that you have secured legislation for CSU funding? Our students, your staff, and faculty are worth every penny and more. Thank you.
Rocky Sanchez, Bargaining Unit 7 Chair, CSUEU. I hail from Cal Poly Pomona. I want to follow up on what Mike Chavez said, Unit 5 Chair for CSUEU, regarding the bullying. We have brought this up before, and like he said, that we are being ignored. What are you all doing? The last, when we were bargaining our contract, we wanted to bring something up about bullying. Oh no, the trustees are going to handle it. Oh no, we cannot talk about this. We are still waiting, and in the meantime, our employees are being bullied, and they're discriminated against, and if they come to the union, there's retribution that they have to pay in terms of how their working conditions are. What are you finally going to do about the bullying issue that is happening on all of our campuses? It's not just us that have to deal with this. You have to keep listening to it. It's your responsibility to make sure that this does not happen. And handing them a book doesn't solve the problem. If anything, our campuses further victimize the victims by saying that they're overly sensitive or they didn't quite mean it that way. They took it the wrong way. We are tired of being bullied. We are tired of being ignored. We're just sick and tired of the fact that all of you refuse to acknowledge that this is an issue and do something about it. Where's the policy on the bullying? Where's the policy that we should not be harassed? And if you say, oh, well, you have Executive Order 1096, that is for protected classes. What about those that if they try to put that in, they're going to be ignored? No, this is a big issue that all of us face, and it needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
Rich McGee, Chair, CSUU, Bargaining Unit 9. 24 years ago, Pat Gann and myself spent about 12 to 14 meetings in this building talking about the CMS project before it started. We warned you that the goals of this project could never be met. Now, 24 years later and several $1 billion of investment later, I have yet to see any audit that says, did the project live up to its initial planned stated goals? It was sold to your predecessors as a common system. You'd be able to click a button and move a student from this campus to that campus. If history is full at Pomona and San Bernardino has an open history class, move the button, the student goes and takes the class. It hasn't happened. It was sold that it required 0 additional staff involvement. They told us, you have nothing to worry about. The consultants will do it all. The decimal point on the consultant bill kept shifting more and more from 70,000 to 700,000 to 7 million. Those consultants still exist. We're prohibited from making any change to that software. It must be done by a consultant. The consultant bills the campus at a cost of about $380 an hour. You people run successful businesses. You know that outsourcing and consultants have one goal. It's to sell outsourcing and consultants. Outsourcing works if you're tiny. You can't afford a large IT staff. Fine, outsourcing will work. But when you're a mature professional organization with people that have been involved in IT since the early 80s, like myself, to suddenly find that we can't do our work because it's going to be done by a consultant. It's moving to the cloud. The cloud costs you more money than it saves. Please, cost justify every new project that requires a consultant. You will save the CSU more money than you can possibly imagine. If you don't, then you'll spend several $1 billion like PeopleSoft and basically reinvent the wheel. 24 years later, the PeopleSoft project we have today works almost as well as the system it replaced back in 1992. Thank you.
Susan Smith and Bill Blischke.
Susan Smith, Vice President for Representation for CSUEU. Yesterday, as I was listening to the comments and the reports to the trustees, I was struck by the fact of that in the 4 years that I have been here, how much things have changed, how we engage with the presidents who sit near us and they engage with us, that staffers and visitors engage with us as well. But I'm also reminded that many things stay the same. So most of you know that I rarely write something down to speak, and I have today, and I hope you can relate, so that I keep the conversation that's running in my head from coming out of my mouth. In that light, I was dismayed yesterday by some of the comments of Vice Chancellor Lamb regarding the status of negotiation with the California Faculty Association. Primary among those comments was in regard to the 2% salary offer to CFA, and that after all, other labor unions took that offer. Ms. Lamb, I beg to disagree. CSUEU during contract negotiations did a cost benefit analysis of the offer at that time for our employees and made a decision based upon the best interest of our members at that time. The California Faculty Association has to do what is best for their members at this time. Please don't drag us into that and use us as a weapon or leverage in the negotiations with the CFA. Secondly, you made a cost or a reference to our very good benefit plan. And I agree with you, it is a very good benefit plan that we pay relatively few dollars for. However, we have paid for the value of that benefit over time with 7 to 10 year periods of no salary increases. We entered our employment with lower salaries based upon that benefit plan. There have also been significant changes to those benefit plans over time that have made them less attractive. Additionally, you make decisions for our employees, such as the snafu, and you should probably look up the military definition of snafu. In regards to the 403B plans that affected the pension outcomes of our employers, or the retirement outcomes of our employees across the board. Maybe our employees don't want to go with Fidelity, and it was a huge mess to get untangled. So your words have meaning. Your words have meaning to those who sit out here as well as the trustees, because I did not hear one single question from any trustee in regards to the report that was presented. Maybe that's because you had a lengthy behind the doors discussion, I don't know. But those words that you reported are heard by people in the audience and visitors that sit behind the red curtain. So please, when you are making those reports, turn around and read them as they would be heard or understood by an employee at any campus or to a visitor to this body. Thank you again.
Good morning. I believe you called my name. I couldn't hear it. My name is Bill Blischke, and I'm an emeritus professor from Cal State Dominguez Hills. I spent 47 years on that campus as a faculty member and administrator, almost half a century. But as of last July, I was elected president of the California State University Emeritus and Retired Faculty Association, an organization many of you may not have heard of. CSU IRFA for short. And we were created in 1985, so we're celebrating our 31st birthday. And the CSU is the largest higher education system in the country, so not surprisingly, we're the largest emeritus and retired faculty association in the country, if not in the galaxy, as my vice president likes to joke. We represent over 10,000 retired and emeritus faculty members. And we have a state council representing all 23 campuses, which meets twice a year. Last October, we met at the Fullerton campus, and our keynote speaker was Chancellor White, who spent about 45 minutes giving us an overview of the challenges and accomplishments of the system and answered some very tough questions. And the meeting before that, which was at up in San Jose, we had the faculty trustee Stefanik as our keynote speaker. And we really appreciate both of them and the perspective that they gave us. We have tried very hard to work much more closely with the Chancellor's office than we ever have in the past. And we met personally with Chancellor White and with a number of his other assistant vice chancellors. And for the first time in our history, we have a formal liaison between CSU IRFA and the Chancellor's office, and that is Vice Chancellor Garrett Ashley. And so we appreciate that kind of communication opportunity. I have recently crafted a letter on CSU IRFA's behalf to Governor Brown, lobbying for much more funding for the CSU. And I copied the Chancellor on that and our liaison. If any of you want copies, I have a copy here. We also send it to key legislators, and we're encouraging all of our members to go to the local legislative offices of the area where they are and lobby. And we do a lot of lobbying for the CSU. We have a legislative committee that monitors every bill in front of the state legislature that might affect the CSU, and we take either positive or negative positions on those. And let me just close by talking about a very unique and strange, in a way, initiative that I've developed. It's called, of all things, the CSU Million Shoe Campaign. And there's an organization called Souls for Souls, S-O-L-E-S for S-O-U-L-S. Could be called Shoes for People, but Souls for Souls makes a lot more sense marketing-wise. And out of the 7 billion people on this planet, about 1 billion either don't have shoes or have inadequate footwear. So with our 500,000 students and faculty, I think we can collect 1 million pairs of shoes from our closets and put them on the feet of 127 foreign countries that Souls for Souls distributes them to. We are piloting this program right now at Dominguez Hills. We'll learn what we can from that experience and then hopefully transfer it to the other 22 campuses in the fall semester next year. And my colleague from San Francisco wants to start it already, so we're working with them. But if the Chancellor's office wants to collect shoes, I'll provide boxes and tell you how to set up a shoe drive. But I think, and as Garrett Ashley said to me, what PR this could be for the CSU if we can collect 1 million shoes. So please help me. And if you have any questions about CSU ORFA, you can go on our website. We have a quarterly newsletter called The Reporter, and all our mission and lots of other information is available on that website. Thank you very much.
And that concludes our speakers.
Thank you, Ms. Kiss. As always, I appreciate everyone who dedicates the time to travel and join us here in Long Beach and share your remarks and take time to speak to the board. Now, we'll go a little bit out of order. We are very excited, and on behalf of my colleagues, to welcome 3 new members to the Board of Trustees, actually 4, as well as a reappointment of our good colleague, Lillian Kimbell. But with us today, you heard from Jean Picker-Furstenberg yesterday, who unfortunately, given previous commitments before her appointment, couldn't be with us today. But we do have Trustee Lateefah Simon, Trustee Jane Carney, and Trustee Thelma Melendez de Santa Anna with us today. And new colleagues, we're very excited to have you here. As is our custom, we'd like to allow you to have a moment to introduce yourself and make any introductory comments. And so I will start to my right with Trustee Simon and yield you the floor.
It's an exciting time to serve not only on this body, but in the moment that we are in globally. I'm extremely humbled to sit in this space understanding the deep, deep challenges that are not only in front of us here today, but the challenges of all Californians. I'll be very brief, but I come from an amazing tradition in San Francisco. I'm literally a daughter of the student strike for ethnic studies and third world liberation. And upon my appointment by the governor, I was told that he and many of you who have been a part of the CSU system appreciate the amazing vibrance of its students, its brilliant faculty, the folks who keep the campus gorgeous, the opportunity to educate 400,000 students in a given year. It's an amazing privilege. The opportunity for us to uphold the vibrance and brilliance and the mission of creating and sustaining an economic engine that at its core is truly about self-determination and liberation. Yeah, so I'm that trustee. And I'm excited to serve with you all as we push and we struggle so that the people of California can have an access to something that is so core, something that is so important to our vibrance in this state. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to work together. I'm excited to push together and to learn together, and really deeply excited to continue to hear and learn from the folks who every single day are working inside of our institutions to keep California strong and safe. So thank you all, and thank you all.
Well said. Welcome again. Trustee Carney.
Thank you. Well, I must echo Latifah's remarks because she made them so eloquently. It is really a great pleasure and privilege, a true privilege, to serve on this board and to work for the betterment of this great institution. Being from Riverside, I'm well aware of the pivotal role that campuses play, CSU campuses play in their community. In addition to all of the wonderful education that are provided, they provide links to the K through 12 system. They're a key part of the social fabric of the community, and that also makes me excited about being on this board. When I went to law school a long time ago, I went to UC Davis as a single mother with 3 children, and there were not many law schools that would take me. So when we talk about access, and we talk about affordability, these are very personal in my life. The good people of the state of California made it possible for me to get this education, and I'm deeply grateful for that. Now, my own challenges were trivial compared to those of many CSU students, such as the young man we heard from yesterday from the Extended University at Cal State Fresno. But I think I would just like you to know that those are deeply ingrained in me, and I look forward to working with all of you to see that this great system functions for the people of California. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Carney. And now I will turn to my left, Trustee Melendez.
Thank you very much, and good morning. Well, I echo my fellow new trustees' comments. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to be part of this board that governs the largest four-year university system and the most diverse in the nation. I am extremely excited to work with you and all of you to serve the 460,000 students in 47 faculty and staff that spread across 23 unique campuses in the massive state of California. Having spent the majority of my career in public K-12 education, I have a passion and a vested interest in ensuring college success for all students. But I'll be very honest, my life's work has specifically focused on low-income and underserved students, many of them who enroll into CSU each year. Some of these students, like myself, are the first in the family to go to college. Some of the students did not perform well in high school and are transfers from community colleges. And some of the students did well in high school but struggled to transition into college. And some of the students just breezed through the 4 years. Regardless of the situation, I want to ensure working with all of you that our most vulnerable students graduate and are successful. That is why I'm here with you today. This is why I want to serve with you in the greatest college system in the world, one that not only produces the most credentialed teachers in the nation, which is something that it's very close to me, but also produces the most STEM teachers in the nation. It is critical for us to be successful because it is critical because these teachers impact our students on a daily basis and really are the ones that are going to ensure the success not only of the state but of the nation. I look forward to working alongside each of you and to continue to be the trailblazing and accolade-ridden system that CSU is at the present time. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Trustee Melendez, and welcome again to all of our new colleagues. We look forward to serving you, and I will say, particularly on behalf of my colleagues who have been serving on 2 or 3 presidential searches all at one time because we needed a few more hands to help carry the load. We are grateful to have you aboard as we move forward with the important work ahead. So we'll now go to my report. I'd like to begin my report today by taking a moment to remember a world-renowned pioneer in coastal science and oceanography, a leader in higher education in California, Douglas Inman, who passed away on February 11th at the age of 95. As a member of the CSU class of 3 million, Dr. Inman graduated from San Diego State College, now known as San Diego State University, in 1942, with a bachelor's degree in physics and geology. Went on to serve in the United States Marine Corps Reserve during World War II, and later attended graduate school at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, now part of UC San Diego. Dr. Inman became a professor at UC San Diego and is credited with many discoveries and innovations in oceanography and coastal science, including his revolutionary theory regarding the role of plate tectonics in coastal processes. And perhaps most importantly, Dr. Inman inspired a new generation of scientists and leaves behind an incredible legacy of scientific curiosity, innovation, and excellence. Our thoughts are with Dr. Inman's wife, Patricia Masters, and his family, along with all who knew and revered this great scientist and educator. I'd like to congratulate the Presidents-elect for Channel Islands and for Chico, and thank the members of all of those presidential search committees for their hard work. The reward and the payoff is just beginning. As we heard over the past 2 days, I'd like to again welcome our newest trustees to the board, as well as congratulate our colleague, Trustee Kimbell, for her reappointment by Governor Brown. And I'd like to congratulate Trustees Abrego, Day, and Taylor for their Senate confirmations. As you may know, March Madness is officially upon us. And I'd like to congratulate all the women's and men's basketball teams representing the CSU in postseason play. On the women's side, CCAA champions Cal State East Bay, joined by Dominguez Hills, are set to compete in the NCAA Division II Women's Basketball Tournament. And CCAA champions Humboldt State, along with Cal Poly Pomona and Chico State, are taking part in the Division II Men's Basketball Tournament. Of course, we are also rooting for our Division I men's and women's basketball teams in their Big West and Big Sky Conference tournaments, and hopefully we'll be able to cheer them on during the NCAA tournament as well. I'd also like to congratulate 3 Cal State campuses for making the Peace Corps list of top volunteer-producing colleges and universities for 2016. The Peace Corps ranked Humboldt State number 9 on a list of medium-sized campuses, and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and San Diego State ranked number 21 and 24, respectively, for large campuses. San Diego State also ranks number 28, for all-time highest volunteer-producing campuses, and number 5 among the top Hispanic-serving institutions. Congratulations to our colleagues at San Diego State. This recognition from the Peace Corps identifies a founding principle that defines the CSU, a university dedicated to the public good of California and of our nation. And 2 Cal State East Bay graduate students, Stephanie Haro and Maciel Morales, have received federal paid internships through the highly selective Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities National Internship Program, the nation's largest of its kind. Stephanie and Maciel will join 50 other students from across the country as they work with federal agencies and corporations in the internship program, and I am sure they will represent Cal State East Bay and the CSU community very, very well. You know, we often use the word community as a way to describe the diverse gathering of students, faculty, staff, alumni, stakeholders, and friends of our campuses, brought together under shared values and goals to solve society's greatest problems and challenges, educate a new generation of students, and enrich ourselves through common understanding. And we know that our campus community is at its strongest as, when the chancellor might say, is woven into the fabric of the surrounding community and region. I am sure many of you saw the February 21st article in the New York Times titled "A Bruised San Bernardino Shows Cultural Strings." The article highlights the work of Cal State San Bernardino professors Juan Delgado and Thomas McGovern as they document a historic 178-year-old city following 3 decades of decline. Juan is a poet at CSUSB and their interim provost, and Tom a photographer, and they're combining their artistic talents in order, as Tom told the New York Times, to validate that our community is worth knowing. If you haven't read the New York Times article on Professors Delgado and McGovern, I encourage you to do so. And I invite you to come and visit one of Juan and Tom's photopoetic expositions. Their work exemplifies what we mean by community-based. These are the threads of the Cal State community that we weave into the successes and achievements of all Californians. From Turlock to San Marcos, Bakersfield to San Jose, indeed all 23 campuses throughout this state, they are a multitude of examples of the power of our students, our faculty, our staff, our alumni, and our friends to make positive, consequential change, to reinvigorate the communities that sustain us all, and to make good on the founding promise of this university, higher education that works for the public benefit of all Californians. With that, I conclude my remarks. Chancellor White.
Well, thank you, Chair Monville, and I again congratulate the two candidates chosen to lead Cal State Channel Islands and Chico State, Erica Beck and Gail Hutchinson, and also to thank our dedicated and accomplished retiring presidents, Dick Rush and Paul Zing. I wish also to congratulate Cal State San Marcos professor Jolie Proudfit for her recent appointment by President Obama to the National Advisory Council on Indian Education. Dr. Proudfit is the chair of the American Indian Studies Department and has served as director of the California Indian Culture and Sovereignty Center since 2009. I know that Jolie will represent the CSU, our Native American communities, and all Californians very well. A few weeks ago, I was pleased to join President Ochoa and the Cal State Monterey Bay community as they celebrated the naming of the 58,000 square foot Joel and Dina Gambord Business and Information Technology Building, and in turn celebrated their largest 8-figure philanthropic gift received in the university's 22-year history. The Gambord's generosity will help accelerate Cal State Monterey Bay in many ways, in many innovative ways, including their computer science education, where they have created a unique partnership with the local Hartnell Community College, and so students can complete a computer science degree in 3 calendar years. Being able to do that then to these students from the Monterey and Salinas Valley regions allows them to pursue careers in IT, in software engineering, and more knowledge-based careers. There is perhaps no bigger story in the scientific universe than last month's announcement of the detection of gravitational waves in black holes, a historic discovery consistent with Albert Einstein's central theory of relativity. Several Cal State Fullerton and Sonoma State professors and students are among a group of more than 1,000 scientists worldwide who played significant roles in the research carried out by the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory Scientific Collaboration. Just a few days after this historic world-changing announcement, I was fortunate to meet with the faculty and staff from Fullerton's Gravitational Wave Physics and Astronomy Center, who, along with 6 graduate students, took part in the global collaboration. They joined the 2016 Wong Award winner and Sonoma State professor Lynn Kaminsky, who we learned about at last meeting, in producing a classroom guide on this historic and life-altering discovery. An incredible achievement, really, and the Fullerton, Sonoma, and the entire CSU community should be immensely proud of these individuals. Recently, I joined campus presidents and university leaders at African American churches and places of worship across the state during one of our Super Sunday outreach events. I was honored to join President Marishta, Bishop Bob Jackson, and the congregation at the Acts Full Gospel Church in Oakland, and my message to students and families was that you can go to college, and that the CSU has the tools, the resources, and the knowledge to help you along the way. But I also pressed this very important additional vital point, and that is that we need these men and women to go to college. It's a point I drive home every time I meet with prospective students and their families across the state. We know that the projected need for bachelor's graduates, confirmed by the Public Policy Institute and so many others, is very real and very pressing. And if current trends in the labor market persist, and there's no evidence that they will not persist, and most experts agree with that, California will face a shortage of 1.1 million bachelor's educated workers by the time today's first graders are completing college. The CSU will bear much of the responsibility in getting us to the additional 1.1 million by 2030, and we are already working towards that goal, as you learned yesterday. I am pleased by many of the findings from yesterday's presentations that indicate our current freshman class, for example, is the largest and best prepared for success in the history of the California State University. But it is only with our partners in K through 14 and in Sacramento that we can build the capacity necessary to secure California's future. It will require us to redouble our efforts in Sacramento, coming together as a united front to tell the story and make the case for the renewed investment in our students, in our faculty, and in our staff. And with greater success with our partners, it will allow us to enroll more qualified Californians than ever before, putting the proverbial pineapple back in the windowsill. President Coley knows what I'm talking about. It allows us to declare that, yes, there is room at the end for all those qualified and willing to do the work. Lastly, I wish to update the board on our Project Rebound partnership, a special admissions pilot initiative providing higher education opportunities for formerly incarcerated people on parole or on probation. Today, San Francisco State provides the home and leadership for Project Rebound, whose core mission is simple: education as an alternative to incarceration. I'm happy to announce that Project Rebound plans to add an additional 7 campuses this fall: Bakersfield, Fresno, Fullerton, Pomona, Sacramento, San Bernardino, and San Diego. Adding these campuses in order to serve prospective students in these regions throughout the state, where approximately 70% of the incarcerated and justice-supervised individuals in California reside. Our ability to do this, however, will be dependent on significant funding from the Ford Foundation through the Opportunity Institute. And thanks to the interest and leadership of Trustee Norton, President Wong, and Project Rebound Director Jason Bell, plus many other faculty and staff, we are a finalist for a 7-figure grant. And if funded, the Chancellor's Office will provide a direct financial investment as well, in addition to the in-kind efforts from all of the involved campuses each year that this renewable reward is received. So please join me in thanking Larry, Les, and Jason. Chair Monville, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chancellor. We will now go to the report of the Academic Senate. Chair Stephen Filling.
Good morning, all. Thank you. I'll begin by thanking Chancellor White and Executive Vice Chancellor Blanchard for their support of research in the CSU and their willingness to act on the Senate's request that they return research funding to baseline status as a recurring part of the academic affairs budget. Doing so enables campuses to plan intelligently for at least minimal support of faculty research projects. Thank you all to Trustee Eisen for visiting our plenary last week. Your willingness to reach out to faculty for information and conversation is really appreciated, as of course are the bird stories. With respect to the actions of the Senate, AS 3236 reaffirms principles of shared governance within the CSU. This resolution requests that the Chancellor articulate in the written response to this resolution how shared leadership, to which he frequently refers, conforms with or differs from HERA in the long accepted manner of shared governance as defined by the AAUP Statement on Government of Colleges and Universities. Chancellor White's response to faculty at San Bernardino, one of the campuses where faculty have called on the Chancellor to intervene, provides a good example of the issues we seek clarity on. He writes, in part, shared governance, shared leadership, as I prefer to imagine the construct, does not mean shared decision-making. HERA, the legislation addressing governance of the CSU, states, the legislature recognizes that joint decision-making and consultation between administration and faculty or academic employees is the long-accepted manner of governing institutions of higher learning and is essential to the performance of the educational mission of those institutions. In pursuit of having the best possible working relationship, we need to develop shared understandings of how we go about doing the business of the CSU, or at the very least, an understanding of where we differ. The Senate also expresses concern that when campus faculty leaders have called upon the Chancellor to intervene when documented serious violations of shared governance have occurred, the Chancellor's responses at times reference shared leadership, yet fail to offer solutions that are responsive to the requests. As I mentioned, one of the campuses requesting assistance was San Bernardino. San Bernardino faculty released the first of 2 reports on a comprehensive survey of campus climate this week, and in the words of one faculty member, "While I haven't fully absorbed this report yet, after reading it a couple of times, I just feel so very sad. There are no other words, just overwhelming sadness. I guess I hoped somehow that things weren't as bad as we all thought. Reading this, I feel like they are worse." I have copies of the executive summary from that report for your perusal. You'll note that the report concludes, not with expressions of no confidence, not with calls for resignation, but rather with a request that we first acknowledge the serious nature of the problems and then work collaboratively to solve those problems and restore the CSU San Bernardino community. I hope that Chancellor White and our colleagues in the Chancellor's office will be amenable to providing the leadership and guidance requisite to that project. AS 3244 expresses Senate support for requiring a 4th year of high school mathematics as a requirement for admission to the CSU. CSU currently requires 3 years of high school math for admission. This is a call for the CSU to require a 4th year as conceptualized for the purposes of admission requirements. Mathematics is envisioned within a broad framework that could include classical mathematics, statistics, financial literacy, and other variants of quantitative reasoning. The resolution also recommends that a mathematics course be completed as a part of the final year of high school, because research tells us that it is crucial for students to have continuing work in mathematics rather than just complete requirements and then take a year or 2 off. The resolution further recommends that the CSU investigate the impact these requirements may have on the success of all students, particularly those from historically underserved populations. We want very much to honor our shared commitment to closing the achievement gap and acknowledge that this may throw up some roadblocks. We also acknowledge that we certainly don't want to disenfranchise our students by allowing them different paths. In addition, we recommend that the CSU continue to engage K-12 and intersegmental constituencies regarding the impact these requirements may have on resources. And I know that our Lieutenant Governor will be pleased that this resolution could increase the likelihood that a computer science course could count as a 4th year mathematics course. AS 3245 speaks to selection of faculty serving on campus honorary degree committees. At the November 2015 meeting, the board approved an honorary degree policy that, among other things, specifies the process for the selection of faculty representatives on campus honorary degree committees. This statement asserts that faculty representatives serving on campus honorary degree committees should be selected by faculty. For the Academic Senate, this is a basic issue of representation. AS 3246 speaks to preventing workplace bullying and affirms the ASCSU's commitment to the states of mind that differing perspectives be tolerated and respected, and that all members of the university community treat one another with respect and honesty. I know that you've heard, certainly today and also over the past year, from a variety of faculty and staff from the various campuses that workplace bullying is a serious and continuing issue. The Senate statement commends the Chancellor's office and the campuses that have addressed the intimidation, humiliation, and isolation that workplace bullying creates. I'll note those campuses include Channel Islands, East Bay, Fullerton, San Francisco State, among others. We urge the campuses that have not done so to develop and implement strategies to redress, remedy, and mediate workplace bullying and to promote inclusive environments through the CSU. AS 3248 formally adopts our positions on bills currently under consideration in the legislature. We believe there is evidence that having the Academic Senate speak formally in addition to the CSU itself allows us more impact on legislation. Naturally, we, as the trustees and all members of the community, are encouraging the legislature and the governor to adequately fund the CSU. And I'll echo previous comments about the worth of our efforts last year efforts that included the California Faculty Association, the California Teachers Association, the California State Student Association, and a wide alphabet soup of other associations in pursuit of fully funding the trustees' request for budget. I'll reiterate the comments of immediate past Assembly Speaker Atkins. CSU built up a lot of goodwill at the legislature this year, and my colleagues and I appreciated the university's approach of no tuition increase threats, their relative restraint on executive compensation, and their working collaboratively with students, faculty, staff, and alumni to make CSU's case. These actions and CSU's commitment to prioritizing the enrollment of more California students and improving graduation rates helped secure more money from the state. Stonewalling on needed and deserved salary increases for faculty will chip away at legislators' confidence in the system, and maintaining that confidence is imperative as we fight to bring additional funding to the CSU. Clearly, as we already know, our advocacy works most effectively when we work together. AS 3249 enunciates concerns about administrative communications regarding classroom discussion of possible strike action. This statement expresses, frankly, our consternation over recent communications from some CSU presidents and administrators forbidding faculty to discuss in their classrooms the potential strike action planned by the California Faculty Association. Yesterday, Vice Chancellor Lamb reiterated the basic content of that message. Her statements framed the matter as an issue of appropriate use of state resources. Much as I and the Academic Senate respect Vice Chancellor Lamb's role in the CSU, we don't believe she or the campus presidents are qualified to make informed decisions about the appropriateness or lack thereof of classroom discussion topics. The Senate's statement affirms that the determination of the relevance of particular material to a class is the decision of the faculty teaching that class in the context of accepted pedagogical and disciplinary standards. A portion of our consternation arises from the fact that each of the campuses has policy concerning professional ethics and instruction. From my own campus at Stanislaus, teachers are entitled to freedom in the classroom discussing their subject, but they should be careful not to introduce into their teaching controversial matter which has no relation to their subject. Clearly, the issue is addressed by extant policies. Equally clearly, at least to the faculty, that is a decision best made by the person teaching the class. The Academic Senate shares CFA's concern about the chilling effect statements such as those sent out by presidents at some of the campuses will have on academic freedom and on effective instruction. We believe those communications unnecessarily inflame an already tense situation. Moving on to our continuing work, first, we're proposing that campuses develop a database of demographic and other data about students and faculty involved in online courses for comparison with similar data about the general population of students, faculty, and courses. We also suggest that the data be aggregated across campuses to enable data-driven decisions regarding the efficacy and cost effectiveness of online teaching in the CSU. As we're all aware, online instruction is often held out as a means of massively expanding access to public higher education without incurring additional cost. We believe that online education works for some classes, for some students, in some situations, and are hoping that providing a strong base of evidence concerning online instruction will enable us to make the best decisions possible as to when, where, and how to offer online courses that carry forward our commitment to quality education for our students. Second, I mentioned earlier our gratitude for Chancellor White's agreement to return RSCA funding to the baseline budget. We're now developing a request that the CO increase funding for the RSCA program to a level commensurate with the original intent of the program and the reality that temporary as well as tenure-track faculty are now eligible to receive RSCA funding. Third, we convened a task force on what we expect of students entering the CSU in terms of mathematics and quantitative reasoning. That task force is unusual in that it includes not only faculty and administrators from the CSU, but faculty and administrators from the other segments of public higher education, and indeed some policymakers, including the Lieutenant Governor. task force met in a couple weeks ago. I think we had a really productive first meeting. We hope to produce recommendations for mid-May, and in turn to carry those recommendations forward to our colleagues in K-12 so that hopefully we can both deal with the achievement gap and ensure that our students are better prepared. And finally, the Senate has a continuing focus on ensuring that we provide a safe and effective learning environment for our students. We have urged our administrative colleagues to remedy the serious lack of psychological counseling services on the campuses. I was cheered yesterday by Vice Chancellor Lamb's reference to concerns that our students have access to mental health services during any labor actions. I share that concern, although I'd offer the suggestion that it's not just during labor actions that our students need access to services. On the Stanislaus campus, staffing for psychological counseling has fallen so low that we now have a program, Call the Counselor, where students in need of services are connected by phone to a community mental health services professional. This program flies in the face of best practices. Indeed, it may well not even provide effective triage. It is well established in the research literature that effective mental health counseling requires continuing trust relationships between client and counselor. That's hardly something facilitated by a one-off phone call. We can and should do better, and I'm hopeful that Lori's comments yesterday signify a shared commitment to find a way to improve things. Chair Monville, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chair Filling. I'll now return to the report of the CSU Alumni Council and President Diapool.
Thank you, Chair Monville. I would like to provide you with an update on the alumni trustee election process. We're moving along on pace, and 3 finalists have been selected and will be interviewed by the full Alumni Council Board of Directors at their April meeting, where the next alumni trustee will be elected. The new alumni trustee will take office on July 1st. We also hope that you will join us on the evening of April 8th at Cal State San Bernardino when we host a reception and dinner in honor of Chair Monville's 10 years of service on the Board of Trustees. What a legacy of service you've given us, Lou, and we appreciate it. Next week, over 200 CSU alumni and friends will gather in Manhattan for the 6th annual CSU New York Tri-State Alumni Reception. CSU Dominguez Hills alumnus Sam Enriquez, Page One senior editor for the Wall Street Journal, will be our alumni keynote speaker. Thank you to the Chancellor and Presidents for your ongoing support of this successful program, and to President Garcia for 6 years of hosting us at the beautiful University Club, which is so enjoyed by our alumni. As you know, a focus of my presidency is telling the story of family legacy in the CSU. In November, we heard from Dr. Marshall Thomas, who is part of a second-generation CSU family. And in January, we heard from Tony Kawashima about his wonderful third-generation CSU family. At that meeting, I put out the call to the presidents to identify a fourth-generation CSU family, and wow, did President Armstrong and his alumni director deliver. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Blaine Frost, who is part of a Cal Poly alumni family that is 4 generations strong. We are so fortunate that not only is Blaine joined here today by his wife, Natalie, but also his daughter, Ashlyn. His father, Robert, had planned to join us, and we send him our best today. Cal Poly and the CSU clearly run in their blood, and I'm very excited to hear their legacy story. Blaine.
Thank you, Dia. Thank you, Chancellor White, and the entire Board of Trustees of the CSU system. Really grateful to be here. Specifically, Aaron Moore for all the hospitality and inviting us down. And special thanks to President Armstrong, President of Cal Poly. Really an honor to be here, and thank you for the invitation. Just briefly, our family is large. My great uncle graduated from Cal Poly in 1950, studied agriculture, and then my uncle Ed Frost graduated in 62, studied soil science, and my dad graduated in 64, studying farm management. Then I graduated in 88, met my wife Natalie there. We both graduated in 88. That began a 27-year marriage, of which we've benefited by having 7 children. 4 of our 7 children have all attended Cal Poly. 2 have graduated. Both have jobs in engineering. Our daughter right now, Ashlyn, she's a 3rd year studying in engineering, and then we have a freshman there right now. His name is Layton. And then we have 3 little ones at home that hopefully they'll get into Cal Poly also. That's our goal. Basically, all of us studied agriculture, construction, engineering, and education. So like to say that Cal Poly gave us all great careers, and we're very, very blessed to be part of the Cal Poly family. Couple things about Cal Poly. To me, it just represents family. I'm bookend with my uncle, my father, my great uncle, and of course my wife, and now my children. Bookend by Cal Poly everywhere. Our closets are full of Cal Poly gear. Just the other day, we were looking at some fishing pictures, and there's a picture of Ashlyn when she's about 1.5 years old, and her older brother, Colin, who at the time was 3.5 years old. They're wearing these Cal Poly sweatshirts, freezing by the lake, holding fishing poles. And I guess it's just been part of our whole entire family history, the Cal Poly legacy. All of my best friends, guys in my wedding, her godfather to godparents to a lot of our children, are all pretty much everyone that we met at Cal Poly. And pretty much I was telling Dia that a lot of my friends married their wives at Cal Poly and are all still together. So it's a strange connection that we all just kind of get together. Also have extended cousins, second cousins that all went to Cal Poly. So there's a lot of Cal Poly going on. But I think most importantly, what Cal Poly's given me is amazing business connections, networking. I'm in the construction business. Although I studied animal science, I kind of fell into that. But there's a lot of alumni support. Pretty much everybody I've hired has been a Cal Poly alumni, or guys that I've helped out are affiliated with Cal Poly, especially in the construction and engineering trades. A lot of networking. Just recently, a couple of my son's fraternity brothers graduated, and I was able to put them in touch with a home builder that I'm working for, and now I'm working for a 24-year-old who's now my customer, who's a Cal Poly alumni. So you just never know where it's going to go. Running into people at the airport, there's a lot of strong family ties. The town of San Luis Obispo, every time we go back there, it feels like home. It's comfortable, it's safe, it's clean, but when we step on campus, we run into President Armstrong, who knows everybody on campus, makes us all feel at home. When we were moving Layton into his dorms just this past fall, I texted President Armstrong. He came up there and helped us load some furniture into his dorm room, which is amazing for a major university to feel like a small town, small college. It's great. It's just a great feeling. Finally, just wanted to thank you all for allowing us to be here and share our brief or our long Cal Poly story. And I failed to mention that my son Nolan, who graduated a couple years ago, he's marrying his Cal Poly sweetheart, Courtney Yolson, whose dad was a Cal Poly alumni also. So, so we're hoping they're getting married this summer, and we're hoping in 19 years we'll be able to come back with our 5th generation Cal Poly child. So hopefully they'll make it happen. So thank you very much.
I think there's something in the water at the CSU, and Match.com should take a lesson. So, Mr. Chair, the question is, should the Alumni Council president seek out a 5th generation family? It's been suggested that it's not necessary. Everyone gets it by now. That said, they have the stories that we need to know and share when we advocate in support of the CSU. And they represent hope to the 1st generation families, and we have many of them. Like the alumni we heard from on video yesterday, who spent 23 years, a generation really, seeking her degree. So I suggest that it's worth it. So will she or won't she look for a 5G family? Only her hairdresser knows for sure, and Flo won't talk. But to all our campuses with 100 years or more of alumni history, be on the lookout. She may stake out your campus and spy on your commencement ceremony to find 5 generations of the CSU spirit. Chair Monville, this concludes my report. Thank you, Blaine, for sharing your family's powerful CSU story. And thank you to your entire family for making the journey here today. You're truly an inspiration. Thank you.
Well, thank you, President Poole. I listen, since the class of 3 million, I know you and Aaron have been working diligently on looking at new and inventive ways for alumni networking. This is a very new way in which to look at that, and we welcome you all. I too am the proud son of a California Polytechnic State College graduate at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So welcome and thank you for your story. With that, the report of the California State Student Association and their president, Taylor Herron.
Thank you, Chair Monville, and good morning, everyone. As always, CSSA is grateful for an opportunity to give a report and share some updates on behalf of our students. During our most recent meeting at CSU Maritime Academy on February 13th and 14th, so we did spend Valentine's Day together in advocating for our students, our board took one of the final and most significant steps towards the recognition of CSSA prompted by the approval of SURF last year. The board approved its 20th internal policy change and unanimously approved a new constitution, which entirely replaces the previous constitution and standing rules. The new governing documents and subsequent structural changes were crafted with a focus on efficiency, fiduciary responsibility, and effectiveness, and were centered around our mission to advocate and represent our students. Our organization truly has experienced much change this year. In addition to our internal reorganization, our comprehensive and strategic growth plan allows for the addition of a new CSSA staff member. This new position is the Assistant Director of Student Engagement and is our first staff member to be solely dedicated to supporting university affairs and campus-based issues. The staff member will focus on providing support and resources to student government organizations, student programs, and student-led initiatives. They will amplify the work of support services and high-impact programs through system-wide collaboration, connect with students at large by providing access to shared governance processes within CSSA and at the CSU and state level, and keep our students informed on important issues and decisions that impact their educational experience. Additionally, as many of you know, CSSA is beginning the search process for a new executive director, and at this time of substantial change, we're excited to find a qualified candidate who's committed to advocating for students and excited about the growth of our organization as we are. In addition to growing our organization from within, we continue to expand our presence in Washington, D.C. and involvement in nationally based issues. CSSA and Cal Poly Pomona will be bringing a national sustainability initiative to California on April 22nd and 23rd when we host a climate summit as part of the Environmental Defense Fund's Defend Our Future campaign. In collaboration with the National Campus Leadership Council and Claremont McKenna, we're planning a conference that aims to connect both the public and private California higher education systems to a network of universities and colleges across the country who share a goal of confronting climate change, advancing resiliency, and supporting healthy communities. In addition to this nationally based work in California, CSSA will be heading to Washington, D.C. as part of Hill Day and is eager to bring the CSU stories to our legislators on the East Coast. Thank you to those in this room who've made it possible for our students to join their campus's advocacy team. Having a student voice in those meetings is essential to painting the full picture of a CSU education and the experience that our students go through on each campus. In our congressional visits, we'll be lobbying in support of year-round Pell Grants and increasing work-study programs. We continue to be committed to the overarching goal of strengthening the presence of CSU students in Washington and CSSA as an influential stakeholder in national politics and higher education. In the more immediate future, CSSA will be advancing a similar agenda on the home front with our annual California Higher Education Student Summit, often referred to as CHES, which is this coming weekend. Several hundred CSU students will be heading to Sacramento for an advocacy conference paired with a lobby day at the Capitol. In addition to advocating in support of CSSA's 3 pieces of sponsored legislation, one which supports textbooks affordability and addresses issues with access code, another which aims to increase the efficacy of student representation on the California Student Aid Commission, and a third which aims to update open meeting laws and increase student participation in shared governance on each of our campuses. We'll be working hard to convey the vastly unique experiences and needs of our one-of-a-kind student body. As always, CSSA will be a champion of the CSU Budget Advocacy Campaign, which has only increased in importance in lieu of the CSU's reports regarding a sustainable financial model. As the Board of Trustees discusses and considers the various aspects of this undeniably transformative report, CSSA requests that there be continued and even heightened commitment to expanding CSU legislative advocacy, both in scope and size, and to doing everything possible to procure additional funds through the legislature instead of looking to our students to fill financial voids through increased tuition and facility fees. As we head into the latter part of this academic year, there is one matter that is at the center of every effort and issue we face as an educational system: shared governance. With monumentally important matters like the Sustainable Financial Model Report, presidential appointments, a potential faculty strike, 4-year graduation rate initiatives, it's more imperative than ever that those in leadership and positions of power are accessible to the stakeholders and constituents who want to be a part of these decision-making discussions. Regardless of whether compromise or even consensus can be reached, we must hear out each other's opinions, we must address each other's concerns, and we must do our very best to answer any and all questions that are raised. Shared governance is a two-way street that requires all of us to do our best to be informed, pragmatic, and most importantly, respectful and kind to each other. On behalf of our students, I ask you to respect us, to hear us out, to teach us, and to empower us so that we too can be leaders and change agents on our own campuses and throughout the entire CSU system. Chair Monville, that concludes my report.
Thank you, President Herron. Well said.
Thanks.
It is now time for the board to consider the items listed on the consent agenda. All of the committee items requiring full board approval are listed on the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any item from the consent agenda for individual discussion and consideration? Okay. Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve all of the items listed on the consent agenda? I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the items listed on the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The consent agenda has been approved. So it's okay. Trustee Carney was excited to jump in there. Thank you. It's okay. Just caught me off guard. That was good. It was before I asked the question. You're on it. So thank you very much. It is now time to go to our discussion agenda, and the board has one action item today on our discussion agenda, and it's a bittersweet item, and that is the conferral of the title of Trustee Emerita on our good friend Margaret Fortune. I think I made some remarks yesterday and shared some thoughts last night. I think if you had to sum up Trustee Fortune in a word, it would be thoughtful. She takes in all of the points of view around the dais. She carefully analyzes the data. She trusts her gut. And then she gives you very thoughtful input and feedback. She is remarkably student-focused. She expects the best out of kids that are kindergartners. She expects the best out of our undergrads. She expects the best out of us, and she expects nothing less of herself. She has been a trusted advisor, and more importantly, I am proud to call her a friend. So while it is a bittersweet moment, I think as we heard yesterday with her middle high school efforts, I frankly think she's going to be even more valuable to us when she leaves our ranks, as she continues to send us the best and brightest students that represent the full spectrum of what makes California great. And so with that, we have the conferral of the title of Trustee Emerita to Margaret Fortune is an action item before this board. May I have a motion? I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. With that, we confer the motion and the action to confer the title of Trustee Emerita to Margaret Fortune is approved. Margaret, this conferral of the title of Trustee Emerita will be given to you here momentarily. It speaks to all of the attributes you brought as a Schwarzenegger appointee in 2008 and your persistent and principle-based leadership of this board and this university from that time and through today and into the future. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the California State University, this board confers the title of Trustee Emerita on Margaret Fortune with all the rights and privileges thereto. We'd love to hear some comments.
I'm so excited. Is this on? Can you hear me? No.
How about now? Hey. I'm so excited. This feels like graduation. where's my cap and gown?
Right here.
Right here. I want to start by saying thank you to my parents, Rex and Margaret Fortune, who join us here today. I am proud to say that I am a third-generation college student, which means if you do the math, my family started going to college after they were emancipated from slavery, first generation out. And so I have the experience of my parents. Whatever city we were in, my father would take us to the School of Education of a college campus. And he would say, look, this is the School of Education. And you can imagine growing up with that, as a small child, you didn't necessarily appreciate seeing these buildings, the School of Education. But I came to recognize the value of that when I was a graduate student at Harvard. And I remember when I was in middle school that my father took me to see Harvard Yard and stand in front of the statue of John Harvard. And I went back to that place when I was a graduate student, and I remembered that moment. And now that I am an educator myself, I appreciate the not-so-subtle message about what he expected from me in building schools myself. And now I say, look, this is the School of Education. So thanks, Mom and Dad. I learned of my parents actually when my mom was retiring at a retirement party, that they participated together in Greensboro when they were students in the sit-ins. That's what they called a date back in those days. Mom was at the lunch counters, and Dad was outside with the picket. And in those days, they used to put on their white gloves and their Sunday best to protest. These days, we like to put on our protest shirts. But in those days, they went and they represented their community in their Sunday best with the greatest amount of dignity to say, we too are Americans, and we belong, and we want to participate. And that is the legacy that I grew up with. So thank you, Mom and Dad. I want to thank my partner, Annette, for standing by me. In service, as you all know, because you experienced this yourself, it's helpful to have a partner in your personal life to help keep you whole. And she certainly does that for me. So thank you, Annette. And the other person I want to thank is a part of my extended family, and that is Michelle Grace, my chief of staff. If it were not for Michelle, I would not be able to orchestrate my life to be able to participate in the way in which I have. And I suspect she came here not only to congratulate me, but to make sure that I didn't re-up and that I'm truly coming home. So I have a one-way ticket back to Sacramento. Finally, I want to say that when I was appointed to this board and went through my confirmation, gee, is that a nerve-wracking process. But I said to the legislature at that time that I intend to be an advocate for African-American children. And that's how I will spend my service on this board. There are lots of issues that we can become involved in, the budget, the legislation. There are so many issues that you can become involved in. But I decided that African-American children need powerful advocates. And I dedicate myself to be one of them. The thing about the African-American population is that we are a minority among minorities in this state, under 10% of the population. So that means that the way in which our children will be served is that we will make friends and coalitions, because we cannot do it by ourselves, but rather we have to build coalitions of the willing. And it has been a great honor to identify those friends who will be a part of my coalition of the willing on behalf of African American children. I want to thank the presidents again who invited us to your campuses, who made age-appropriate experiences for my children as we brought busloads of kids, over 1,500 a year, to see the CSU. I thank those of you who came out to my campuses, and I hope that as I cycle off this board, which is the healthy thing to do, that you will continue to welcome us to the campuses as we are preparing the future students of the CSU. It is with great joy that I cycle off this board because I know it is in good hands. It's in really good hands. I've been pleased to serve with some great trustees, and I count among them those of you who are on the board now, and I hope our friendship is an enduring one. Thank you for your service to the institution. Thank you for being standard bearers of the institution. And thank you for counting me among your colleagues and your friends in doing this important work on behalf of students. Farewell, but I'll see you again.
Well done. Done good raising it? Rex, enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
Well, just when Margaret thought she was done, I have to remind her that the board will now adjourn into closed session to discuss executive personnel matters. The board will then reconvene on May 24, 2016, their next regularly scheduled meeting. Notice that meeting will go out in ordinary course 10 days in advance of those meetings. We'll adjourn to closed session. Thank you.
Please adjust your audio accordingly.